One, two, is this on?
From legend killer to legend, Randy Orton's longevity and tenure is unmatched. He has remained a constant in WWE for over 20 years. Wrestling was in his blood and destiny was in his future. It's often been said that if you could build a professional wrestler from the ground up, you would get Randy Orton. We'll find out just why that statement rings true today, as we look back and rank the various personas and numerous different versions of Randy Orton. Number 13, Rookie Orton, 2002 to 2003. Orton's wrestling career began in WWE's developmental territory, Ohio Valley Wrestling. Having spent 2 years learning the craft, he was eventually promoted to the WWE main roster in April 2002. His first matches saw him wrestle the likes of Hardcore Holly, Test, and Lance Storm.
It's really flying!
Naturally, Orton was quite rough around the edges when he first debuted. However, he was put in matches against experienced wrestlers who helped show him the ropes. One of the first obstacles Orton had to conquer was his nerves. His opponents could tell how nervous Randy was based on how he looked walking to the ring. Hardcore Holly was the first to notice and offered Orton valuable advice. The highlight of Orton's first year in the WWE came when he wrestled The Undertaker for the Undisputed Championship. Taker was incredibly giving during the match, offering Orton a big chance to shine. So much so that after the match, Vince McMahon questioned the dead man's decision to give the rookie so much offense.
The Undertaker! The Undertaker!
Orton jumped ship to Raw in September of 2002, but almost immediately suffered a shoulder injury. Randy stayed on television though, and appeared on Raw live from Montreal in a Sting, where he cut his first heel promo.
Unlike Bret Hart, Randy Orton will be back. Thank you. Thank you.
Over the next few months, Orton appeared in RNN segments, giving frequent updates on his condition. These skits allowed Orton to slowly develop as a heel, giving fans just enough reason to dislike him. The injury proved to be a blessing, as it allowed Orton to shed his initial white meat babyface rookie persona in favor of a more cocky, arrogant character that was soon ready to take further advantage of his third generation heritage. Number 12, WWE and United States Champion, 2017 to 2018. After Orton's feud with Bray Wyatt in 2017, Orton was used to try and help establish Jinder Mahal as a viable WWE champion. Orton lost the title to Mahal at Backlash in a massive upset that shocked fans.
Oh, the Colossus! She got him! Do we have it? You're kidding me! You're kidding me!
Orton tried his best to get Mahal over as a champion, but it was always going to be hard for the audience to buy someone as world champion who had largely been an enhancement talent for the majority of their WWE career. After losing 3 times to Mahal, Orton feuded with Rusev. During this feud, Orton once again highlighted his ability to hit the RKO out of nowhere, doing so numerous times in a variety of different ways.
Here, English from the second.
At the start of 2018, Orton looked to capture the only title he had yet to win in WWE, the United States Championship. Orton won the belt at Fastlane, defeating Bobby Roode. This made Orton the 18th Grand Slam champion in WWE history, but the Viper only held the championship for a month, as Orton would lose yet another title to Jinder Mahal, this time in a fatal 4-way match at WrestleMania 34. It was a shame to see Orton lose the title so quickly, as it would have been great to see such a top-level main eventer like Randy elevate the belt just as rival John Cena had done on Raw in 2015. All in all, the 1-year period from the spring of 2017 to 2018 was one to forget for Orton. He had little to sink his teeth into character or storyline-wise. The one saving grace was the fact that he was able to win a title he was yet to capture, but Orton's US Championship reign was so short it never really had a chance to get off the ground. Number 11, Youngest World Champion, 2004. Fresh off his highly successful reign as the Intercontinental Champion, the WWE believed Orton was ready to take the next step in becoming a main event player. After winning a 20-man battle royal on Raw, Orton became the #1 contender for Chris Benoit's World Heavyweight Championship. The two clashed at SummerSlam in a stellar match, where Orton captured his first world title, becoming WWE's youngest ever world champion in the process.
The youngest world champion in WWE history.
At just 24 years old and with only 2 years under his belt on the main roster, it begged the question as to whether Orton was truly ready to be world champion. And while even Randy agrees it was too soon, the way he was booked as champion certainly didn't help matters. Things started off well with a brilliant rematch versus Benoit on Raw that was followed by Orton being kicked out of Evolution in a famous segment. Randy then cemented himself as a babyface the next week by spitting in the face of Triple H in another classic moment, but Orton lost the world title to Triple H at Unforgiven, despite putting up a strong fight. And while losing the title after just 1 month was bad enough, Orton's rematch at the 2005 Royal Rumble added insult to injury, not just because of the loss, but due to the way Orton was defeated. Randy was beaten cleanly after trying to use the game's patented sledgehammer. Orton's babyface run had been a bust. He had lost the killer instinct that made him such a great villain as the Legend Killer, while his fellow Evolution member Batista had begun to get over with the fans more organically. Orton has always said how much he prefers playing the role of a heel, and perhaps his initial failed babyface run has something to do with that, especially given how much it paled in comparison to his previous heel run, as well as the subsequent one that was to follow. Number 10, Wyatt family member, 2016 to 2017. Orton returned from injury in the summer of 2016, becoming a member of the SmackDown roster. At that year's SummerSlam, he featured in a memorable but controversial match against Brock Lesnar.
Bones trying to bust up your opponent. That's look at this.
The ending to this match was so violent, it even had Chris Jericho wondering if the finish was planned or not, leading to an altercation between Y2J and Lesnar backstage. From there, Orton began a feud with Bray Wyatt, which eventually led to Orton joining the Wyatt family.
Randy Orton.
Orton's addition to the group wasn't really a good fit, although we did manage to capture the tag titles during this time. Fans were more eager to see the moment Orton eventually turned on Wyatt. Orton's objective was to destroy the Wyatts from the inside. This plan fit his character, as it's only ever a matter of time before the Viper strikes after all. However, this storyline just dragged on for too long, since Orton and Wyatt were booked to go all the way up until after WrestleMania. During his time in the Wyatt family, Orton was able to elevate Luke Harper. However, WWE subsequently failed to capitalize on Harper's momentum. Orton's turn on Bray was done in unique circumstances, as Orton burned down the Wyatt family compound, resulting in a cool looking visual. Unfortunately, the payoff to the feud saw Orton and Wyatt wrestle two bizarre matches. First at WrestleMania 33, where Orton beat Bray for the WWE Championship. Then came the House of Horrors match at Payback. This concept had potential, but it wasn't executed well and absolutely died in front of the live audience, who were forced to watch most of the match on the Titantron. Overall, Orton's time with the Wyatts won't be looked back on too fondly. Sure, there were some bright sparks, like the matches with Luke Harper, as well as Orton winning the Royal Rumble and then the WWE title at WrestleMania, but all in all, the storyline lasted longer than it needed to. Fans would have preferred to see Orton get another shot at Brock Lesnar, while for Bray, a feud with Luke Harper likely would have had more legs given their built-in story. Number 9, Rated RKO, 2006-2007. After Orton made the jump back to Raw in the middle of 2006, he linked up with Edge to form Rated RKO. The two were paired together to act as credible opponents for DX, resulting in a memorable feud during which Orton and Edge captured the World Tag Team titles.
How the hell can those two men stand there?
The feud came to a premature end after Triple H tore his quad at New Year's Revolution 2007. Then, after dropping the tag belts to the team of Shawn Michaels and John Cena, Rated RKO began to fizzle out, with the two splitting for good following a singles match against each other on Raw. This came the night after they wrestled in an epic fatal 4-way for the WWE Championship at Backlash. Orton and Edge both had big personalities. Their characters meshed together well in the beginning, but it was only a matter of time before their egos clashed. It didn't lead to a pay-per-view singles match though, as Edge was moved to SmackDown following injuries to Mr. Kennedy and The Undertaker. The run with Edge benefited Orton as it allowed Randy to mix it up against Triple H and Shawn Michaels again, with Orton an even better wrestler than he was 2 years prior.
What the hell is this?
During the feud, Orton's history with both wrestlers was played up, which became even more relevant when Orton worked against both Hunter and Shawn in a singles feud the next year. Rated RKO had great chemistry together on screen, while behind the scenes, Edge helped keep Randy in check after the tough year Orton had just endured. Rated RKO's run was short, and while it did lose some steam after Triple H's injury, the team created some great television. And their pairing was key in steering Orton back in the right direction after the problems he'd been experiencing in his personal life. Number 8, Apex Predator, 2010-2013. After a feud with fellow Legacy members Rhodes and DiBiase, Orton continued his face run, deciding to change his look to freshen things up. The Vipers stopped wearing wristbands for a few months, a look that surprised fans seeing as how odd Randy looked with nothing on his arms. 2010 wasn't a great year for the WWE, and the same could be said for Orton. He remained consistent in the ring, but from a promo and character perspective, there was nothing to write home about. The same can be said for the feuds he was in. Orton was over as a face, but he once again lacked that killer instinct and vicious nature that made him so great as a heel. And given some of the horrendous things he did as a heel, it was going to be hard to top this as a face. However, in 2011, Orton was able to find a greater balance between his characters. The punt kick was brought back due to necessity, since Randy had to fight off an entire stable on his own in Nexus during his feud with CM Punk. And as we'd seen in the years prior, in order to hit the punt, Orton had to go to that place in his head where the voices were. The menace was back, this time as a babyface.
Do not punt him. No, Randy, no!
It made sense as this was the only way the Apex Predator was going to be able to take out Nexus. From the deranged look on Randy's face, you could just tell when the voices were taking over. The build up to each punt was truly epic as Orton picked off each Nexus member one by one, week by week, until Punk was the only one left.
Last week, and now Tonga.
We wouldn't see Orton snap like this again until his feud with Christian in the summer.
They go Christian again.
The feud had been very much one-sided on Orton's behalf until the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. There, the stipulation was such that Orton could lose the world title via disqualification. Previously, Christian had lost a title match to Orton despite the fact Captain Charisma's foot was under the rope during the deciding cover. This led to Christian turning heel and constantly demanding one more match. At Money in the Bank, Christian riled up Randy so much to the point where Orton hit a low blow which caused the DQ.
You gotta calm down, Randy. You gotta calm down.
The fact that being spat on was the final straw for Orton was fitting, given the countless legends Orton had to spit in the face of as the legend killer. The feud with Christian played on Orton's past struggles to control his anger. Christian spitting in the Viper's face was enough to send Orton over the edge, as he absolutely destroyed Christian following the conclusion to their match at Money in the Bank. In the following weeks, Christian continued to try and make the Viper lose his cool. It was brilliant to see Orton unleash this side of his character as a babyface. It's something the company can always go back to, and have since done following this. We all know the Viper can strike at any moment, but it's rarer to see the more sinister side of Orton, the violent, sadistic menace with anger management issues that we get to see only when the story calls for it.
It's starting to make me angry.
In 2011, we saw the best version of Orton as a babyface. He was forced to channel the voices in his head in order to end Nexus once and for all. Then during his fantastic feud with Christian, we would again see just what happens when you send the Viper over the edge.
You won't have so far to fall. Oh no!
As regardless if he's face or heel, when Orton is made to go to that place, no one can stop him, and there is no telling the amount of damage he can do. It was evident in 2011, not to mention 2009 and 2020, but more on those years later. Number 7, The Authority, 2013 to 2015. After a forgettable 2012 and first part of 2013, things picked up for Randy when he won the Money in the Bank ladder match. Orton successfully cashed in his Money in the Bank contract at SummerSlam 2013, following Daniel Bryan's victory against John Cena. Triple H would turn heel by pedigreeing Bryan, allowing Orton to pick up the scraps to become the new WWE champion.
Randy Orton has cashed in Money in the Bank.
The next night on Raw, The Authority would officially be born, with Orton and Triple H cementing their heel turns. This began Daniel Bryan's memorable chase for the WWE title, with Orton and The Authority being the biggest obstacles in Bryan's way, as they constantly held him down. Orton in many ways took a back seat here despite being champion, as every Raw would begin with a Triple H and Stephanie McMahon promo. Orton was positioned as the face of WWE, while Bryan was considered a B+ player.
But you are a B+.
The two headlined numerous pay-per-views, although both the dusty finish at Night of Champions and then the non-finish at Battleground left fans demanding refunds.
Daniel, look out! Look out! Both men down outside the ring.
Big Show's insertion in the feud didn't help matters, especially given the fact that Show even challenged Orton for the WWE title at Survivor Series, while Bryan was positioned in a feud against the Wyatts. Orton was able to defeat the Big Show, bringing back the punt kick for one night only. The problem was that the punt was nowhere near as powerful this time round, given Big Show was able to wrestle the next night without issue. Orton's character during this period wasn't as much of a savage like he was previously, and would be again in the future. This meant the punt didn't have as much impact since it didn't fit Orton's persona as the corporate champion. He didn't need to go back to that sick place during this period, as the Authority could give him anything he wanted, ensuring he stayed on top. As a member of the Authority, Orton was a sellout, linking back up with his former fierce rival Triple H, in order to get back to the top and stay there. Hunter and Stephanie did the brunt of the talking, while Randy represented their vision of what a top star should be. The fact that Daniel Bryan was the complete opposite of this helped make the story so thrilling. The fans didn't want to see anyone else but Bryan as the WWE champion, but it would take some more time before the company eventually changed direction. Before that could happen, Orton met his old rival John Cena, defeating John in a unification match for both the World Heavyweight and WWE titles at TLC 2013. In the build-up to the match, Cena called out Orton for being handed everything yet still making mistakes and being lazy.
You've had behavior problems in the ring. You've had behavior problems outside the ring.
Their rematch at the Royal Rumble was panned by the live crowd due to the fans being tired of both characters, while the audience's demand to see Daniel Bryan in the title picture was intensifying more and more. The fans would finally get their wish at WrestleMania 30, where Daniel Bryan featured in a triple threat match against champion Orton and Royal Rumble winner Batista. Bryan had to defeat Triple H first in order to secure his place in the main event, which he subsequently won to become the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Following WrestleMania, fans were treated to the return of Evolution as the faction went to war with the Shield in two fantastic matches. Evolution put over Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns in a huge way, and Orton would continue to elevate the younger wrestlers during his singles feuds with Reigns and Rollins.
Roman Reigns ahead of Steve. Spear!
The latter of which led to Orton leaving the Authority and becoming a babyface again. Perhaps the most famous moment of this face run took place at WrestleMania 31, when Orton delivered one of the greatest ever RKOs to Seth Rollins.
In position for another curb stop. Oh my unbelievable counter! Oh my God, unbelievable!
A strong start to life as a face was followed up with a bland feud with Sheamus. Orton later suffered a shoulder injury in the fall of 2015 that would keep him out of action for 9 months. Number 6, RK Bro, 2021 to 2022. Following WrestleMania 37, Orton was paired together with Matt Riddle in what started out as an odd couple tag team, but as the weeks and months progressed, they began to develop amazing chemistry together. As a team, the two created some very entertaining television, with the Viper warming up to Riddle more and more the longer they were a team.
I don't know what planet you're from.
I'm from Earth.
Shut up.
You could just tell how much fun they were having on screen together.
And I have never had this much fun as I'm having right now in this ring with my partner.
By the end of 2021, RK Bro were arguably the highlight of Raw every week. They featured in numerous hilarious segments, some of which featured inside references relating to both men's use of marijuana.
There are exactly 28 grams and 1 ounce. Thank you very much. That's it.
Orton and Riddle won the tag team titles twice, wrestling numerous fantastic matches against the likes of the Street Profits and the Alpha Academy. RK Bro's tremendous run sadly came to an end when Orton was forced to take a step away from the ring due to a serious back injury. Orton and Riddle had a very memorable run together. What began as a thrown together tag team soon blossomed into a versatile duo that complemented each other so well.
And I want you to have this.
Orton was the perfect straight man to Riddle's laid-back stoner character. The fact that Orton also loved to secretly get stoned made this even better.
Got 2 seconds to take this off my head. 1.
Their segments were beloved by fans because of just how funny RK Bro's act was. Then once the bell rang, Orton and Riddle put in a hell of a shift, wrestling consistent high-quality matches week in, week out. Number 5, The Age of Orton, 2007 to 2008. In 2007, Orton began to show a more dark side to his character. A key element of this darker turn was Randy's use of the punt kick. It was suggested by Arn Anderson, who believed a straight boot to the skull was simple yet devastating.
Come on, look out! No! No! Can you believe it?
It went beyond being just a wrestling move. It was sold and put over so well. The punt felt like a downright criminal assault. Anyone that was hit with it was taken off TV afterward, as the punt kick quickly became Orton's most brutal weapon. Orton was ready to fight for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam 2007 against the man who would become Randy's greatest rival, John Cena. And as the two faces of the Ruthless Aggression era, they were eager to tear the house down. Cena evaded the punt to hit the FU and capture the win. But this was only the start of a feud that was about to become very personal. Orton added insult to injury by defeating Cena's dad in a match on Raw a few weeks later, but Cena Sr. got his revenge at Unforgiven by giving Randy a taste of his own medicine. Cena and Orton's feud was put on hold before Orton could get his big win, as Cena suffered a pectoral injury during a match with Mr. Kennedy. Orton punished Cena afterward in an angle that inadvertently acted as a way of writing Cena off television to heal from his injury. Cena then vacated the WWE Championship, but Orton was able to capture it for himself at No Mercy by defeating the recently returning Triple H in a last man standing match. The Age of Orton was here, and now by unlocking such a devastating side to his character, and with the punt kick in his arsenal, Orton would go on to have one of the strongest ever title runs. His failed first world title run was a distant memory. This was a different, more nefarious Randy Orton. He still had elements of the Legend Killer in him, but Randy was able to combine that with a new mean streak that would only get wilder throughout the 2 years. Orton went into WrestleMania 24 as WWE Champion and came out of the show with the title still in possession, becoming one of the few heels to achieve such a feat at the show of shows. Orton was now more opportunistic. He was slowly transitioning into more of a predator, while the voices in his head just couldn't be ignored. Number 4, Return to SmackDown 2005 to 2006. Orton cemented his heel turn in the spring of 2005 by RKOing Stacy Keibler. Randy had set his sights on The Undertaker in a bid to kill another legend and break The Undertaker's WrestleMania undefeated streak.
I will defeat The Undertaker.
This began a classic rivalry that spawned 4 great matches. The feud also saw the return of Randy's father, Cowboy Bob Orton. Cowboy Bob helped Orton defeat Taker twice. He helped add to Orton's presentation and gave the Legend Killer a different dimension, as it would have been difficult to buy Orton beating The Undertaker multiple times on his own at this stage of his career. The highlight of the Orton-Taker rivalry came inside Hell in a Cell at Armageddon, where Orton took the dead man to the limit, but ultimately came up short.
I've never seen anyone do that! Are you kidding me?
The Phenom may have went over on the night, but Orton certainly got over as a result. The feud with Taker did wonders in elevating Orton, who was now rejuvenated following a stuttering first world title reign. Randy once again channeled what made him so good as the Legend Killer, turning it up even more. He was now more vicious and cunning, while his promos were taken up a notch. Evolution were in the past, and it was clear now more than ever before that Orton could hang with the very best in the business as a main eventer. At the start of 2006, Orton set his sights on becoming a world champion for the second time. Randy feuded with that year's Royal Rumble winner Rey Mysterio, eventually defeating Rey to earn a place in the World Heavyweight title match at WrestleMania 22 that also featured champion Kurt Angle. Orton caught some of the most heat of his career during this time by disrespecting the late Eddie Guerrero numerous times.
Eddie's down there in hell!
Orton came up short at WrestleMania, but continued his feud with Kurt Angle. Orton battled with a number of disciplinary and personal issues during this era, from showing up late to shows due to excessive partying, to defecating in wrestlers' bags as a joke. Things came to a head when Orton was suspended for 60 days for smoking marijuana. During this time off, Randy attended anger management classes to tackle his problems. By the summer of 2006, Orton was back on the Raw brand, where he set out to kill his biggest name legend to date in the form of Hulk Hogan. Orton was brilliant here, as he preyed on Hogan's daughter Brooke in order to anger the Hulkster. Orton lost to Hogan at SummerSlam in what turned out to be Hogan's final ever WWE match. On screen, Orton bounced back tremendously following a difficult first world title run, but outside of the ring, Randy began to lose the run of himself. It's a credit to Orton's natural ability and God-given talent that he was able to have such a brilliant 2005 and 2006, despite experiencing such turmoil behind the scenes. It's often been said that Orton doesn't truly know how great he is, and Randy being so good is why WWE continued to stick with him after all the missteps. And as we'll soon see, the moment Orton was able to get himself together would be the moment he would reach the top of the industry, as finally there was nothing holding him back. Number 3, Return of the Legend Killer, 2018 to 2021. After a short hiatus in the middle of 2018, Orton returned by attacking Jeff Hardy at Extreme Rules. During this feud, we would begin to see the return of a more sadistic, bloodthirsty Orton. He would violently assault wrestlers by using weapons and making use of the environment around him. From stretching Jeff Hardy's ear with a screwdriver, to twisting Ty Dillinger's finger in the turnbuckle, to guillotining Rey Mysterio twice with a steel chair.
No! Into the steel with the chair to the throat!
Orton even removed Mysterio's mask and carried it around like a trophy, the ultimate way of disrespecting a masked luchador.
This mask doesn't deserve to be respected, it deserves to be erased.
Orton was back to his old menacing ways, and it wouldn't be long until he reintroduced another old persona. But before that could happen, Orton's feud with Kofi Kingston from 2009 would be revisited, this time with Kofi as the main eventer holding the WWE Championship. The feud featured numerous callbacks to their 2009 rivalry.
Goes for the RKO, connects. Kofi Kingston jaw and face.
Critical fashion to make it one-on-one with him and Bryan.
Ultimately, we know the only time almost.
With Kofi stating how Orton used his influence to hold Kingston down. Orton agreed, stating how he believed Kofi wasn't ready to be a main event star.
You think that I used my influence to hold you back? You're damn right I did.
It was great to see parts of Orton's past actions behind the scenes being incorporated in his on-screen character, and this only continued as Randy transitioned back into the Legend Killer persona. Orton's feud with the returning Edge in 2020 was when Randy really began to tap into his promo ability, to the point where they were at the very top level. Orton was doing some of his best work as a character, while still being that sadistic, cruel viper. Add to that the return of Orton as the Legend Killer, and you have Randy at his very best.
Randy! No!
with 2020 being one of his standout years. And this is despite the fact that for the vast majority of the year, there were no fans in attendance at shows. This made Orton's promos and the segments where he punt-kicked numerous legends so much more eerie. The atmosphere and the tone made his words hit different. Fans really had to listen in. The way Randy would quietly whisper to the legends as they were down was tremendous. The fact that Orton could still elicit such an emotional reaction despite there being no crowd is a testament to how strong his work was during that period. Based on the year he'd been having, it was no surprise that Orton captured his first WWE Championship in 3 years by defeating Drew McIntyre inside Hell in a Cell. This feud really helped cement McIntyre as a main event star. The two men had some memorable promo exchanges while their matches were top draw. With such a strong 2020 nearly under his belt, it was a shame that things had to go downhill when Orton went up against The Fiend. The feud was so awful that thinking about it brings back a host of bad memories. It's not fair to pin any of the blame on the wrestlers in this case, as the material they had to work with was so bad. It would be hard for anyone to make it work. Props to the WWE for trying something different during the pandemic era, but most of it just fell flat. Rest assured, the feud with The Fiend was the worst television Orton has ever been involved in, and was a sour end to what was otherwise a stellar 3-year period for the Legend Killer. Number 2, Evolution and the birth of the Legend Killer, 2003 to 2004. Orton returned from injury in 2003, joining the ranks of Evolution as one of the faction's future stars alongside Batista. While Ric Flair was the wise legend and Triple H the current top star, Orton quickly found his feet as the Legend Killer. Orton had first landed a job in the WWE because of his legendary father and grandfather.
The business is in his blood. Third-generation superstar.
He was now in a big-time faction alongside a legend in Ric Flair. However, Orton made it his mission to disrespect and destroy those that came before him. He did this by attacking and literally spitting in the face of numerous wrestling legends. Orton was the cocky, arrogant, and up-and-coming star that was destined for greatness. Countless legends fell at the hands of Orton as he continued to work his way up the ladder, elevating the Intercontinental Championship along the way by holding the belt for 210 days. This run was special as it felt like a throwback to the days when the IC title was considered the workhorse belt that wrestlers would hold before going on to win the WWF Championship. Orton consistently put in some strong performances in the ring, wrestling a very smooth, methodical style with no wasted motion, a style in which Orton continued to master the more experienced he became. Orton also established the RKO as his finishing move during this period. It was already a famous move, but Orton would soon take it to even greater heights. Orton's first run as the Legend Killer is perhaps best remembered for his hardcore match against Cactus Jack for the Intercontinental Championship at Backlash 2004.
Here it comes!
This was a star-making match if there ever was one, as both men pulled out all the stops in a bona fide 5-star classic. Foley made Orton just like he had made Triple H 4 years prior. Orton was still young, but the Foley match certainly put him on the map. Evolution gave Orton the platform to mix it up with legends of the past and stars of the present. Orton shook off the rookie tag and used his third-generation lineage to fuel his cocky, egotistical character that Randy backed up by becoming the Legend Killer.
Get a look at greatness.
Orton's sensational calendar year between the summer of 2003 to 2004 convinced the higher-ups that Randy was ready to become world champion. And although we've since learned that Orton wasn't ready to be the champion in 2004, the fact that the company put the title on him so soon is a testament to how strong his original run as the Legend Killer was. Number 1, Legacy, 2008 to 2010. A broken collarbone suffered against Triple H at One Night Stand in 2008 halted Orton's insane momentum, but by the end of the year, Orton had formed a new group with other sons of legends, Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase. Things had come full circle for Orton. He started out as a third-generation young upstart, where he was led by stars of the industry. Now Orton was the star and the leader of his own group, with not one but 2 young wrestlers born from greatness. And it was Randy who would show Rhodes and DiBiase the way, just as Ric Flair and Triple H had done for him. With Legacy by his side, Orton was back and ready to make the biggest impact of his career thus far. It all began after a run-in with Stephanie McMahon left Vince demanding an apology from Orton. Orton immediately realized what had just happened, but the damage was done. Orton went on to win the 2009 Royal Rumble to book his place in the main event of WrestleMania. He now had contractual power over the company. He demanded Stephanie fire him, stating that he couldn't be responsible for his actions due to having intermittent explosive disorder, and therefore could sue the WWE if they terminated him. Orton was essentially bulletproof. He couldn't be fired, and now had a built-in excuse to wreak even more havoc thanks to the disorder. Shane McMahon was out to get revenge for what Orton had done to his his father, but Shane O'Mac would also fall to the punt kick. Then, with a hysterical Stephanie McMahon pleading for answers, Orton struck her down with an RKO. Orton had already made it personal with the immediate McMahon family, but after RKOing Stephanie, Randy now had to deal with Steph's husband, Triple H. Hunter and Stephanie hadn't been established as husband and wife on television since 2002, meaning Orton had now made things so personal that in storyline, there was no ignoring the torment Randy was causing to the McMahons and their loved ones. There was no limit to the lengths this version of Orton would go to, and if this meant wiping out non-wrestlers and now even women, Randy would do it. Orton even tried to punt kick Stephanie only for Shane to intervene. The McMahon family have historically been the evil rulers who made their enemies' lives a living hell. It speaks to just how sick of a character Orton was that he could actually get the fans to sympathize with a family that had done so many terrible things. Triple H sought revenge by making it personal with Orton's family as the game broke into Orton's home in a classic Raw segment. The build to their match at WrestleMania 25 was so thrilling that the eventual bout itself had a lot to live up to.
This guy put it in the neck.
But it didn't help that their clash was completely overshadowed by the sensational Undertaker vs Shawn Michaels match that went on before it. It was impossible to follow, despite how awesome Orton and Triple H's feud had been. In the end, their match fell flat, but fans will also remember how Orton terrorized the McMahons. After WrestleMania, Orton regained the WWE Championship, and he was now ready to resume his feud with John Cena that ended prematurely the year prior. This time, Orton walked into SummerSlam as the champion, as opposed to the challenger, where he would finally get his singles win over Cena. Their feud continued throughout the fall, with the two men trading title victories, starting with the awesome I Quit match at Breaking Point.
I quit!
And then a match inside Hell in a Cell. The feud culminated in a 1-hour Iron Man match at Bragging Rights that John Cena won, with the stipulation being that Orton couldn't challenge for the WWE Championship again until Cena lost it. As a result, Orton stepped out of the title picture to feud with Kofi Kingston. The feud helped elevate Kingston. However, the WWE failed to follow up on his newfound momentum. The moment where Orton yelled out "stupid, stupid" to Kofi in the middle of the ring signaled the end of Kingston's push. In 2010, cracks began to form in Legacy as Orton began to transition into turning babyface. The group had shown minor signs of dissension in the past, but now there was no doubt that the faction was on the rocks. This was clear when Cody Rhodes cost Orton a chance to regain the WWE title at the Royal Rumble by getting Randy DQ'd after Rhodes hit Sheamus in view of the referee. Rhodes and DiBiase officially turned on Orton at the Elimination Chamber, setting up a triple threat match at WrestleMania 26.
Crossroads. And now mocking Orton.
Orton picked up the win with a punt kick and RKO combo on both men. Orton was now a popular babyface for the first time in 5 years. This was interesting given he had just come off the most evil heel run of his career. Sure, he was the most hated heel in wrestling in 2009, but his work was so amazing that it led to the fans wanting to cheer Orton. Throughout Orton's illustrious Hall of Fame career, his 2009 run gave us the greatest version of Randy Orton. It was the culmination of a spectacular story arc that had been building for some time and will ultimately go down as Orton's very best work. Randy Orton was destined to follow in his family's footsteps, becoming a third-generation genetically gifted wrestler with an inherent ability that was further developed and built upon, allowing Orton to become an era-defining generational talent who is celebrated by fans and greatly respected by his peers. Orton quickly rose through the ranks, starting out as an upstart rookie before becoming a legend killer, then a Viper, and now a legend in his own right. And that brings us to the end of this video. As always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoyed this one, be sure to check out our video where we rank the 12 greatest versions of Triple H. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.